Where should the 2024-2025 San Jose Sharks be better? And where could they potentially regress? We explore today.
You're Locked On Sharks, your daily podcast on the San Jose Sharks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, welcome to Locked On Sharks, the premier hockey podcast covering your favorite team in the Bay Area. My name is JD Young, caretaker at the Reef, also the co-host of Western Conference Tuesday on the Locked On NHL channel. I want to thank you for making Locked On Sharks your first listen. Proudly part of the Locked On Network. We cover your team every day. If you want to be an everyday, all you have to do is just follow wherever you get podcasts, or you can watch this on YouTube as well. And today we're going to be exploring areas where I think the San Jose Sharks are going to be better in the 24-25 season, and an area where they might regress from last year, which, as crazy as it sounds from the season that we just saw, there is a possibility of that. So before we get into all that, do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. So, I think the easy, low-hanging fruit, and I'm definitely going to go for the low-hanging fruit here because it's the middle of July, but the easiest place to start is the San Jose Sharks offense in 2024-2025 should be better than what we just watched this last season. I think we have blacked out, how truly awful this team was last year, because, we won the draft lottery, got Macklin Celebrini. Everything is good now, but it is good to kind of look back sometimes and realize just how stinky this team was. So let's do that right now. So this team, the 2023-2024 Sharks offense, if you're watching on YouTube, or if you're not watching on YouTube, made a little graph. And I had to, of course, pick Mike Hoffman, I think, who kind of feels like the mascot of last year's offensive woes. But last year, the Sharks scored 180 goals in 82 games. So it was 31st in the NHL. Only team worse was the Chicago Blackhawks. Their goals per game was 2.20, of course, 31st in the NHL. They averaged 25.2 shots per game, 32nd in the NHL. Expected goals for at 5v5, 147.92 expected goals for, 30th in the NHL. High danger chances for at 5v5, 634, 29th. Corsi for, so their shot attempts at 5v5, 43.82, 31st. And goals for at 5v5, 34.49%, 32nd. So this offense stunk, right? They couldn't generate offense, and when they did, they couldn't do much with it. And we saw that basically every night for the most part, because this team just could not score on a normal basis, Enter the 2024-2025 Sharks. And now I don't expect this team to go from, one of the worst teams in the NHL to some juggernaut offense, but can they go from like this to like mediocre, which I would put like 20th. So I think that's a realistic possibility. So like if you look at, like goals for the 20th goal, like team in goals was Ottawa Senators at 250. So that would be a huge jump in goals right there, going from 180 to 250. Now that is a lot of goals there, but like there's still, I think, very like some of the other metrics, I think there's some definite room for improvement, and I think the shooting percentages is a huge reason why. The Sharks last year shot 7%, 7.06, which was these second worst behind, of course, the Chicago Blackhawks. Like, if you can just like get just get it up closer to 8%, which is, much like that was 8% will put you at 23rd in the league. Just if you get it up around 8%, you're going to score more goals because your shooting percentage is higher. Like you're going to see much more production there. And I think just shooting the puck more, again, we're not asking for like going from the worst team to the best, but just trying to just lift the Titanic as we do. And I think that's where guys like, of course, Macklin Celebrini, who I know will be 18 playing in his first season. Same thing, Will Smith, who will be 19 playing in his first season. And there's going to be their trials and tribulations, but those guys were brought in because of their offensive skills. And yes, there's going to be a grace period, and they're going to have, like I said, they're going to have their ups and downs throughout the season. But those guys have scored a lot of points in their careers heading into the NHL. And you have to think like, they're going to figure it out. That's why you drafted them super high, is because of their ability to help put the puck in the back of the net, whether they do it themselves or they set up their teammates. And I think also the additions of Tyler Toffoli, right? What guy's been a walking 25 to 30 goal scorer basically for the past 10 years at this point, where that's what he does. He scores goals, struggles in some other areas defensively, but the guy's a professional goal scorer. And you put him with creators like Macklin Celebrini, Will Smith, William Macklin, they're going to find Toffoli, and Toffoli's going to put it in the back of the net. So I think, and I know Sharks lost Anthony Duclair, certified goal scorer himself, but I think Tyler Toffoli is just kind of in another class of a potential goal scorer, and he's just done it more consistently than Anthony Duclair has throughout his career, and that's why they paid him $6 million for the next 4 seasons to put the puck in the back of the net. So I just think them being able to hold the puck longer in their own offensive zone, being able to generate more shots, and again, like, this team is not going to be some offensive juggernaut next season. In a couple of years, for sure, we can have that conversation once Celebrini and Smith and some of the other pieces get added. Yeah, that's a conversation we can have. When will this team be a top 10 offense? But can you go from being the worst or one of the worst offenses to just being a mediocre offense? And that is, just being a team that's, hey, we're not going to score a bunch of goals every night, but we're going to be consistently better and not get shut out as much and not have these, the 2 or fewer in the negative light conversations of the team just cannot generate consistent offense. And if the power play can continue, especially how we saw last year at the end of the season, that magic can continue to kind of rub off on the Sharks, especially with now more talented players on the ice. There's, I think there's a chance for this offense to kind of take a big step going forward. And I would be really disappointed, to be honest, if the offense doesn't show more signs of life this year, especially with the kind of the big talent in Will Smith, Tyler Toffoli, and Macklin Celebrini, of course. Like that's a whole new line you could have potentially added here. And then not including if Logan Couture, who we're going to continually mention all this, I think this whole episode is, if Logan Couture is healthy enough to come back, that's another kind of huge Jenga piece, because Couture has, if you go back 2 seasons ago when Couture was healthy, Couture was a huge offensive driver and was able to really kind of boost that second line for the Sharks. And if he can return to somewhat close to Couture form, then the Sharks offense should really realistically take a big jump from being one of the worst to, again, can you be like the 20th offense in the NHL, just with some of the talent that you've added this off season? So I know there's still a lot of questions on the blue line, but again, I think the offense is just going to be a lot better just because there's just more talented players on this offense, and much deeper offense. And you're not going to have to, Luke Kunin, second line center Luke Kunin won't be a thing this year, right? You're more insulated with some of the players that you have. So the offense should take a big step. So we'll look at some other areas where the penalty kill, which I think has a lot of room for improvement, just again, because of some of the personnel they brought in and with Ryan Warsofsky's scheme. And then we'll talk about why there could be some concerns in net this year and if that has a potential to take a step back. So we'll get to that here in just 1 minute. Passion, drive, and patience, the formula for winning championships, is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors is everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. There are over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die. You'll always find exactly what you're looking for. With the eBay Guarantee Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easier to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. So keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guarantee Fit only available to U.S. customers. All right, so the offense, we're hoping, taking a big step. I think another area for the Sharks that should take a big step is the penalty kill, which was atrocious last year, right? The Sharks penalty kill last year finished, they were 28th, 75.4%. This is especially after going the year before where they were a top 10 penalty kill. And a big reason why was the personnel, right? You look at that 2022-2023 season, you had guys like Logan Couture, who played almost 200 minutes of penalty kill. You had Nick Bonino, Nico Sturm. Like you had and I know Nico Sturm still, but you had a lot more, I think, higher quality penalty killers. But this last season, let's take a look at the guys among your forwards. Right, we're focusing on the forwards because the defense really hasn't changed too much. We're kind of focusing on the forwards with this. So here were your top 7 penalty killers last year. So you have Mikael Granlund, who's I think he's a solid PKer, but not as I would kind of rank like Couture. I think is a much better penalty killer. Nick Bonino, I think is a much better penalty killer. Like Granlund having to kind of take the brunt of the penalty kill. Luke Kunin, who I think struggled in the role. Nico Sturm, Ryan Carpenter, who's not even with the team. Tomas Hertl, not with the team. Then you had the young guns in Eklund and Zetterlund, who both played PK, and I think they did well, especially kind of in their young roles. Now, look at some of the big additions that the Sharks added to their penalty kill. So you have Alex Wennberg last year, who played 165 minutes of PK between both the Rangers and the Kraken. And his analytics aren't that great, to be honest, but you have just another capable body. Barclay Goodrow played 150 minutes of PK for the Rangers last year, and he's great. He's very good at penalty kill. I've harped on Barclay Goodrow plenty, but Goodrow is a excellent penalty killer, and he will make this unit better, even if he has to drag them drag them by their feet. He will make this unit a better penalty killer because of the way he plays. Then Ty Dellandrea, who played 80 minutes last year on the PK, which doesn't sound as much compared to the others, but he did that in 42 games. So he was getting close to 2 minutes a game of PK time during that. So I think for just the improvement of the players here, combined with some of your young players, right? Zetterlund, who we talked about yesterday, and his ability to play PK. And I think that's going to be something that he's going to be able to continue to add to his arsenal. William Eklund, who I think can play, who played PK effectively last year as well. And then I think you, especially among the top guys, you can kind of spread out the minutes a little bit more, right? Where it's not having to be Mikael Granlund going out there, the first guy over the boards every time, and then have to come out and play first line minutes, right? You can kind of rest these guys a little bit more and rely on your bottom 6 guys more this upcoming season, right? Your guys like your Barclay Goodrows, your Ty Dellandreas. If that's your first pairing over the boards, awesome. And then if you want to go second unit, if you want to have Nico Sturm, and then if you want to put a guy like Fabian Zetterlund and his ability to score, I think create shorthanded opportunities, and then if you want to have Mikael Granlund kind of being your third guy out there with William Eklund, who can also create some shorthanded opportunities, though that's much better, I think, opportunity, much better usage of your guys where you're not kind of taxing your top end guys, right? Granlund, who played a bajillion minutes last year because they needed him to play a bajillion minutes last year. Eklund, who, yes, he's younger, but having to kind of play in all situations, which was good for his development. But now you can be a little bit more selective about, okay, I can throw Wennberg over, or I can throw Kahkonen over now, or I can throw, like Granlund's had to play a bunch. Let me give him a PK off here because I can utilize him more strategically offensively. So I think there's just a much better depth among this group of penalty killers. So I actually expect the PK to make a big jump. And here's another reason why, and it's because of Ryan Warsofsky. And if you look at his time in the AHL when he was the head coach of the Wolves, so 2020, 2021, the Wolves had an 83.2% PK, which was ninth in the AHL, but they scored 7 shorthanded goals. 21-22, same percentage. They jumped up to 5th, but scored 12 shorthanded goals. So I think with Warsofsky, we're going to see a more aggressive penalty kill. Not quite power kill, but I think a team that's going to be able to generate more offensive chances on the penalty kill and try to create some shorthanded opportunities, especially with guys like Fabian Zetterlund, who we can know Zetterlund can get out there and get moving and score on the breakaway. Same thing with William Eklund. Goodrow, we saw him in the playoffs scoring shorthanded goals. Maybe he doesn't have the same foot speed that he used to, but that crafty veteran where he can set guys up. Nico Sturm has some speed to him as well. We've seen him get out on the rush as well. So I think the Sharks are more well equipped to have a better PK, especially among the forwards who can, I think, be a little bit more aggressive and kind of maybe push the issue a little bit more instead of having to kind of sit back and defend more, because you have more guys that you feel better about throwing over the boards than you did last year. So I think just more depth, and maybe then you can start potentially cross-training guys like Carl Grundstrom, who I think has a potential to be one of those guys. And that doesn't even include Macklin Celebrini, who played a bunch, PK in college. And I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of the year he's playing PK minutes, because I just think he's that good of a player and he's going to pick it up. So there's a lot of potential and more room for error, I think, when it comes with who can play PK, and gives Ryan Warsofsky and company some more toys, I would say, on the penalty kill, where you can actually turn it back into a shutdown unit, which we have seen this unit be in years past. Plus the potential to I think really kind of push the pace and try to take advantage of the other team. So, and this, again, doesn't even include Logan Couture. So if Couture comes back and maybe he's not playing a full 200 PK minutes like he did 2 years ago, but if he comes back, and then you're really talking about, like, you could have four potential pairings that you could throw out and feel good about at any time, instead of kind of the 2 to 3 that we saw last year, and you're kind of scrambling to put guys together. Because if you look at, like, Sturm's great on the faceoff, Granlund's pretty good on the faceoff, Couture's solid on the faceoff. Like, there's plenty of where you could be winning faceoffs and then kind of maybe pushing the pace type of scenarios, or at least starting the kill off on a good foot here. So I expect the penalty kill to kind of make a big jump, as there's just more depth and more quality, I think, in that department compared to what we saw last year. So we'll continue by looking at why I think there could be some issues in net as the Sharks moved on from Kappo, Kahkonen to Vitek Vanecek. But maybe there is a light, maybe or another gear for Vanecek to find. So we'll look into that here in just 1 second. Nothing says summertime like catching a baseball game. And if you want to go grab tickets to an MLB game, you need to check out Game Time. Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch. With killer last minute deals, all in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. The thing I love is you can actually see what your seats are going to look like. Not that going to Oracle, you're ever going to get a bad view, but some of the other ballparks, right? Sometimes you get there and you realize, my seats aren't that great. With Game Time, you can actually see what your seats are going to look like so that we have no surprises, no shocks when you get there and realize you have a bad seat. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL, LOCKEDON NHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, finishing up goaltending. And here's where I worry a little bit about maybe some possible regression. And Mackenzie, Blackwood, right? I think we're going to kind of expect something similar to what we saw last season. And Blackwood played out of his mind at times last year and played way better than I think any of us expected, especially you go back to that trade, right? The Sharks traded a 6th-round pick, and there was a lot of fans who were like, what are you doing, Mike Greer? Turns out maybe he knew with that. And maybe he knows with Vitek Vanecek here, where he feels like there's something there. He's put on good tape at some point. But I worry about it. And kind of looking at his numbers, and I'm going to pull them up here in just a second, where, I know Kappo Kahkonen kind of was very up and down, but overall last year, like, Kappo Kahkonen kind of played pretty well for the most part of the season. Mackenzie Blackwood was better throughout the season, but Kappo Kahkonen played pretty well throughout the year last year. And so maybe the hope is Mike Greer's hope, and get Vanecek here. He's expected to be healthy for training camp. Get him with Thomas Spears, who seems like he might actually be a goaltending wizard. Everybody, all the goalies you talk to, when Devin Cooley was on the show talking about what Spears kind of did with him and the work that he did in such a short amount of time, maybe a full training camp with Spears and a full season with him, you can maybe iron out some of your issues. But I pulled up Vitek Vanecek's kind of stats from the past 4 years since he's kind of made it into the NHL. And I know it might be a little bit hard to read here on the YouTube page, so I will go through it as best I can here. So if you're watching on YouTube, or if you're listening, I will go through it. But basically, so his save percentage over this time has been okay. He's played a lot of games, right? His first season, he played 37 games, and 42, 52, and then last year played 32, where he lost his job and eventually got hurt and knocked out. But save percentage, first year was a 907, then a 903, 910, then last year was 88%, 89% save percentage. Goals saved above expected. So these are kind of how many goals you would save, you're supposed to save, right? He's had, so his first season, he had a minus 7.58 goals saved above expected, which is okay. First season, that whatever, right? Sometimes. Second season made improvement, minus 2.76 with Washington. And that was 42 games, played about, half the season. The following season, where he had his real breakout year with a very good New Jersey team, right? Went to the playoffs and everything fell apart in the playoffs, but he had a 13.28 goals saved above expected. So he saved 13 more goals than expected that season, playing 52 games. Last year, everything kind of crashed down on him, where he had a minus 10.67 goals saved above expected in 32 games last year. And the worry is, he also missed the rest of the season with an injury. And maybe it's something, maybe it's nothing with that. Maybe it's just that kind of bump. And, our good friend Mackenzie Blackwood, before he got traded, he put up some stinky numbers too. So there is a chance where it could just have been really bad year. So Mackenzie Blackwood. So before the year he got traded, his goal saved above expected was minus 0.9. So basically 1. He was broke even there. The year before that, it was a minus 12.7 while he was dealing with injuries. And then the year before that was minus 8.5. So maybe it could be the same situation. Both these guys coming from the Devils, where something didn't click for them, or something kind of fell apart for them. For the Sharks last year, like both Mackenzie, so Blackwood played, he had 2.4 goals saved above expected last year, which feels like a small miracle, especially with how often he was just peppered with shots and kind of struggled with that. Just not struggled, but like just how much work he had to do, kind of put through last year. Kahkonen, he finished with a 1.4 goals saved above expected. That's between his time with the Devils and the Sharks, but still, both these guys did a good job of kind of performing above expected, especially being in tough circumstances. And my worry is if Vitek Vanecek just doesn't find his game, could maybe all the goodwill that we see in the offense and everything just kind of falls apart, because yes, this team is still going to be bad this year, right? I still expect this to be kind of a bottom 5 team this year, even with the increase in talent, because it's like changes just don't happen overnight. But having a goaltender to kind of bail you out, which was something the Sharks really hadn't had for the past couple seasons, and they found it last year with Blackwood. And if Blackwood gets hurt, which he has done in his career, and you have to put it all on Vitek Vanecek, what if Vanecek just isn't good, right? And then you're just kind of if things fall apart and the goalie's unable to kind of bail you out, that's my worry. And especially because there isn't a strong third goalie, or like a potential third goalie in the system right now. That we kind of looked at some guys, I think it was last week or the week before it, potential third goalies to kind of add. I worry that there's not really a safety net there in case, kind of worst case scenario, where if Blackwood gets hurt for extended period, knock on wood, hopefully he can stay healthy. But even last year he was nicked up at times, and Kappo can kind of take the reins. You think about right around December, and then kind of right around the trade deadline, if I recall correctly, where Blackwood missed some time, because of injuries there. So the hope is Blackwood can stay healthy. Vitek Vanecek maybe can, the Thomas Spears secret sauce and figure out, kind of fix whatever issues he's had and get back to the Vitek Vanecek from 2 seasons ago that was one of the best goalies in the league. So, and then unfortunately fell apart in the playoffs. But, there is some concern there if things go horribly wrong, that there isn't really another option without having to throw the children and Georgi Romanov and Magnus Krona out there to kind of figure things out. So, but yeah, overall, though, I think there's a lot of opportunity for the Sharks to grow and be better, because you can only go up from where we saw from the last season. But the goaltending worries me just because of kind of worst case scenarios. So That's going to be it for me today. Be back on Monday. So we'll probably do a roster reset next week. We'll continue to look at some of the new Sharks prospects and get to know their games a little bit more. But make sure you follow along wherever you get podcasts. And of course, you can watch on YouTube as well. Follow the show on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Locked On Sharks. Follow me on Twitter at MyFryHole. Until Monday. Bye, friends.